As a public land duck hunter, an early morning means something different than it does to most. It starts way before the sun starts to rise to the east. It's long boat rides in the dark. It's the setting of big migrator spreads on a cold north wind day. It's the anticipation of what the new day is going to bring.
Mallards, they're definitely, in my opinion, prettier, they're big, and the thing that gets me the most about them is just how they work decoys. Coming from super, they fly, high up off the refuge, and when they see a spot they want to go down on, they are basically touching their wingtips to toes and just do it dirtier than any ducks, in my opinion.
I'm a puddle duck guy all the way. I love greenheads. I have a soft spot for gadwalls. For some reason, I love watching a gadwall work. But yeah, no, I'm not into divers. They just don't give it up like a mallard does. When a mallard locks up from like a mile high and just dumps into the middle of your decoys, it's honestly
As a public land duck hunter, it's more than having a successful hunt to me. It's the laughs had in the blind. It's the bacon and eggs on the griddle. It's the stories told by the old timers on the good old days.
It kind of depends. Like when we know the birds are there, we know a north wind's coming up. We're like, all right, we're hunting the river today. Like that's where we're gonna be. I mean, you can pretty much set anywhere off the refuge and throw a spread out that looks good and looks juicy, and you get some birds coming in. I think field hunting in the past has been like my favorite type of hunting. Don't get me wrong, still love a good field hunt, but I think the river is more convenient, and you're always gonna have birds that are just locked up and loaded in the refuges and stuff like that. So it's always just like a good feeling to know that there's gonna be birds in the refuge, so you can, if you can find their flyway and get underneath their flyway, like you're gonna suck some in at some point.
All these wouldn't be possible without the access to public land for most hunters. As kids, we have watched the sport get tougher and tougher to participate in. As society norms change and more corporate America grows, the lack of hunting ability through private-owned fields and farms grows. What was once Mr. Johnson's farm is now Foremost Farms USA, LLC. What we used to be able to get permission to hunt, now we can. Also, with the modern age, farmers have had one bad apple that's ruined it for everybody, decreasing the accessibility to these lands.
Well, my name's Nick Johnson. I am a waterfowl guru, expert guide type of guy. 33 years old. I've lived in the Minneapolis area my whole life, and been doing competition calling and extensive exclusive waterfowl hunting my whole life as well. I think that having a large variety of public access lands, whether that's wetlands, agricultural, bike trails, whatever it is going to act as a draw to all sportsmen. And it's in every state's best interest to continue growing it as far as it can possibly be nurtured, like without letting it, not just having it and letting it be shitty. Like have it, make it good, and how far can you take it? The further you take it, the more tourism you're gonna have, the happier population you're gonna have because they have things to go do, the healthier they'll be because they'll be doing more things. It's good for communities to have these areas in all aspects of life, in my opinion. I know, like, if you have like refuges and that sort of thing, you will boost the amount of game species exponentially in the area. So everybody's kind of boat lifts with the tide. You can get a lot of really good hunting opportunities, not at the refuge, but around it, and that wouldn't exist, period, or maybe to a tiny fraction of a percentage without that there. And you can really see it just like, just living here in the metro area. 2 years ago they built a retention pond by the mall, and that is holding thousands of birds. But I've seen this area's wintering waterfowl population explode. explode because of this tiny pond at the mall. And you can do that like everywhere if you want, if it's managed correctly.
Well, we're out here on the Mississippi River. We're about like hour and a half from our house in Hudson. And we're kind of new to this whole river experience. Like, Hunter's been doing it for a few years now, and I've kind of just getting started into it. But I went down to Lake Cross, Wisconsin, had a good time. I think the ticket is with like these river hunts is just the amount of refuges they have set up around here. Like, that's just holding the birds, just keeping birds there. And we're blessed to have those. We don't have any up where we grew up at, really near our house. So these refuges just hold birds late, and if you're willing to work for it, like, you can get on birds. And I think it's a total game changer for us, and I wish we'd have known in high school more about river hunting. We weren't set up for it, but now we got a little extra cash and we can get set up for it. And we've had some banger hunts out here, you know, down Mississippi in different spots. So it kind of depends. Like, when we know the birds are there, we know a north wind's coming up, we're like, all right, we're hunting the river today. Like, that's where we're gonna be. I mean, you can pretty much set anywhere off the refuge and throw a spread out that looks good and looks juicy, and you get some birds coming in. I think field hunting in the past has been like my favorite type of hunting. You know, don't get me wrong, I still love a good field hunt, but I think the river is more convenient, and you're always gonna have birds that are just locked up and loaded in the refuges and stuff like that. So it's always just like a good feeling to know that there's gonna be birds in the refuge, so you can, you know, if you can find their flyway and get underneath their flyway, like, you're gonna suck some in at some point. So love field hunting when I can find a good field and get permission on it. That's the other problem. It's hard to get permission now with all these, you know, I love farmers and stuff, but now they're starting to charge money for kids and like kids hunting, and it's just kind of ruining the sport. Like, it wasn't like that growing up, and nowadays I'm not going to be paying, you know, $200 for a day to go on a field when I can come down the river. Like, that's just how it is.
Yeah, so Hunter and I grew up in the Hudson, Wisconsin area, and that when we were kids was, 16-year-old kids, yeah, go for it, go shoot these ducks and geese in these fields and ponds, and it was really didn't have an issue getting permission. Now I don't know if the sport's just growing again or if we're getting more people in that area, but it's dang near impossible to get on any land over there. It's not that the birds aren't there or anything, it's just hard to get on. People want money now and are just straight up not letting people hunt, so we're pretty blessed to have the Mississippi River for public land. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many acres it is, but I know it's huge and holds a lot of birds. Where we have a good refuge system. This is the Upper Mississippi National Wildlife Refuge in the National Wildlife Refuge system. You know, my take on it is it keeps the birds around for a while. If we didn't have these refuges, a lot of these birds wouldn't be here for very long. Yeah, they'd probably still come through since this is their flyway, but refuge definitely keeps them around, holding them. And
Smack that thing. The only reason we shoot birds down here, because the amount of hunting pressure down here is pretty insane. There's 40 trucks at every single landing. But we always have birds because the Mississippi refuges, I mean, they have birds all times of the year, and when we get big pushes and guys are out there shooting limits, we're still holding birds just because they can go and be safe in those areas. But also we have a lot of people who love to set up right on the refuge lines. That tends to kind of hinder the hunting a little bit because we got guys sky blasting and then birds are around, but they're just stale and you can't shoot birds. You can pretty much just bird watch all day. So the refuges are obviously important, but I think giving them just a little bit of space off the refuge line is also because, I mean, I'd much rather have ducks work and shoot them right in the face than shooting them at 50 yards past shooting, but that's just me.
pressure could be a problem in a sense, but sometimes you just got to be smarter. I mean, some days are good, some days are bad. It's just like any hunting. But yeah, pressure is definitely a thing. As you know, we've done some crazy early mornings to get out here. to like, beat people to spots. But some people you can't control it. It is public land. They can set right up on top of you, and I can't say it ruins your hunt, but they might cut off some ducks and you might get less shooting than what you would have. But there's definitely times we've outsmarted them and get away from the pressure, get farther away from the refuge lines, and you can start getting into them.
Thankfully, this doesn't mean an end to duck hunting, but a change to our mindset of finding new and unique ways to access land to hunt. There are many organizations in Wisconsin that set aside land for hunters. We have waterfowl production areas, we have national wildlife refuge lands, we even have the state rented lands that are open to public hunting, giving us access to vital fields in CRP.
Got anything else you want to add?
Anything else? Oof. Don't sleep on Wisconsin, I guess. Pressure's growing, but there's public land. We have it here. It's not going away anytime soon.